Right. So there we are, we're live. Good morning, everybody, and happy Mother's Day for all you mothers out there, for the mothers that have gone before, and big hugs for those of you who can't be with your mums for various reasons today. I know it's a bit of a bittersweet day for a lot of people, and in our household too, we've had a few moments this morning. But today we are joined by Fiona and Lizzie from Kent Goddess Group. Good morning, ladies. Morning. Jenny was going to join us, but she's not very well, so a big to Jenny, who I know will be watching.
Yeah.
Bless her heart. Yeah, and it's a shame she's not here today because she's quite an inspiring old girl herself, isn't she?
Yeah. Actually, you are as well, madam. So.
Oh well, we all have. I think we all are. I think that's something that I think we'll end up taking away from today. That we really all are more inspiring than we think. Whoops! And my camera's just gone for a flying button. There we go. I'm just going to. I'll put my phone up so that I can see when people join in and have got something exciting to tell us, because you do get that. But what I thought we'd do today was. Or what we're going to do today. Oh, hang on, there's two of me. One is definitely enough. So I can see
you keep doing this.
I know. Inflated ego, that's what it is. One of me's just not enough. They shouldn't have broken the mould. But obviously, Monday was International Women's Day. And I didn't have any blokes this year go, what about International Men's Day? Because that is November the 19th. I was ready, because every year somebody says, do men have a day? And like, yeah, they do. It's what you choose to make it. So because of that, and because today's Mother's Day, what we're going to chat about is women that inspire us and what makes a woman inspiring. So this week I've put up different goddesses and the ones that particularly call to me. So do they inspire me? Maybe. They're somehow unobtainable. Some of them can be unobtainable because they are deities. So amongst our inspiring women, because we did have a last minute double check that nobody's got the same person, because that could have been awkward. But it's interesting. We've got a mixture of people that we actually physically know and people from history, near history, further away history. So I think it's quite interesting that we've all got a person we know in mind. I didn't elaborate on mine, but when we were talking, but I have got a couple in mind. So what is it that I was curious as to what makes somebody inspiring, or what does inspiring mean to you? For me, it means somebody that makes me think, yeah, go on, girl. And also, not quite Catherine Tate. I can do that. You know, like, remember that character in Catherine Tate? Where, yeah, whatever it was. Yeah, I can do that. I can speak speedy. You know? Yeah. I can do tap dancing. But it makes you think, you know, that was huge, but it started with small steps. So for me, it's somebody that makes small, sometimes they're huge, big steps, but they have to start off small somewhere. And I think that's something that we forget. So I don't know about you, Lizzie, what would make somebody inspiring for you?
For me, it's sort of like me to go, yeah, go on, you can do that, you know. Just because, you know, you're a woman doesn't mean that you can't do that. Because obviously there's been a lot of, you know, there's a lot of sexism, and there still is, and inequality. So for them to go, even if it's small, you know, because that can escalate. You know, once that seed's planted, it grows. So, for me, it's someone who makes me want to go, yeah, I'm not having that.
Yeah, and somebody who's made a change, and it's changed or started making the change, because, you know, like you said, it's that seed that it might have been, no, I'm not going to do that, or I am going to do that. It might be a small act, or it might be a massive demonstrative act. But it's the seed is, and the essence is the same. What about you, Fee? What sort of thing inspires you?
That's actually a really interesting question. My mood yesterday was such that I was thinking, was feeling didn't find anything or anybody inspiring. Do you know what I mean? It's like just, yeah, depression monster, you know. And I was just in that kind of fug yesterday afternoon. But I was chatting to my best friend on the phone, and I was sort of saying, well, I thought of this person, I thought of that person to talk about, and you know, Maya Angelou was my first one. I've got a soft spot for her. I love her poetry. I love all that she achieved in her lifetime and all that she stood for. And then I suddenly, I've forgotten the word now. Spoiler alert. And then I suddenly went, well, there's Dolly Parton as well, because and I thought, yeah, that's it. I'm going to talk about Dolly Parton and why she inspires me, because
that fire, isn't it?
My whole, you know, the energies rose and everything, and suddenly this thing of I don't care, I'm not interested, depression monster was kicked into touch, and I was like, yeah, actually, I didn't know half of this stuff about her, and it's really interesting. She keeps her mouth shut about an awful lot of things. She's just, it's there on Wikipedia. You can find it in the old interwebs and everything if you go looking, but it's not like in your face, oh, Dolly Parton's done this now and Dolly Parton's done that, and it just isn't. And this is one of the things I like about her, is despite her sort of superstardom, you know, she keeps it real. I feel she keeps it quite real, actually. And that's you know, 75 and nearly a whole lifetime of stardom, 50 years, let's say.
Gosh. Yeah, I do know she does a lot more charitable and good stuff, and you know, then and she doesn't go putting it all over the press or social media.
Absolutely not.
Yeah, I know. I don't know a huge amount about her. Perhaps you're happy to start off with tell us about Dolly Parton, Fee.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, there's lots of little bits and bumps have come onto my radar about her in the last maybe year and a half. But I will confess, before she took the main stage at Glastonbury, I knew nothing about her except her hits and her.
Yes, you do.
What she's known for.
Yeah.
Let's face it. Put my glasses on because I've got notes here. I didn't know that she was. I mean, we know she's a singer-songwriter. She's a multi-instrumentalist, which I didn't know, and an actress. She's an author. I don't know what she's written because I haven't researched this in massive depth.
No.
A businesswoman, humanitarian, a cultural ambassador, a lifelong advocate for education, and what's not actually often mentioned is the environment.
Oh, okay.
Or absolutely specifically, she's put a lot of effort. What that means precisely, I don't know. Money, time, whatever, connections, into preserving the bald eagle in a reserve somewhere or other near where she lives or in her state or whatever it is. But she's put a lot into trying to preserve the bald eagle. Did you know, I didn't until this morning, that she agreed for her music to be used in a PETA ad. Is it PETA or PETA? PETA?
PETA,
yeah, and that was encouraging people to keep their dogs inside, not just chain them up outside in all weathers and just leave them out there. That's what that ad was about, and she sort of said, yes, use my music for that.
Oh, wow.
Which is as good as, you know, putting herself behind it.
Well, it is, isn't it? Because to pay the royalties for that would be and it's, you know, it's all right, it's money, it's not money she's giving out, but it's money she's not earning because she's given it to them. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, I didn't know that about her. I knew she did quite a lot of humanitarian work.
Yeah, she does. Yeah. There's one more sort of eco thing that I like. And again, no great detail, but there were, I think it was 2016, the Great Smoky Mountain wildfires. There were a lot of victims, I presume, animal, fauna, flora, as well as humans. And what she did was she organized a telethon and raised 9 million-ish to support them.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's, you know, and she is comfortable where she is financially and everything else. It just goes to show that it's not always people in a dire position, because she's financially more than comfortable. Her and her husband, they don't have children, do they?
They don't. That's another fact.
Yeah, they don't have to. I think she's got loads of nieces and nephews. Good morning, Julie. Happy Mother's Day to you. They don't have children, and I think she does. I think, if memory serves, she does quite a lot for children, and I think she's got some very good relationships with her nieces and nephews. Does she help bring one of them up?
I think she may have.
I think she may have done, but hers aren't born out of some of our ladies we're going to discuss. Their bravery, their inspiration is born out of them challenging something in their life that, you know, is affecting them, whereas that is something she's done from a place of love, and that's not right, it's not affecting me, but I want to be the change maker, which is an interesting sort of concept, isn't it? Because I know someone that you're going to talk about, Lizzie, her actions were because they impinged on her in particular, you know, and one of mine is kind of a foot in both camps. It's interesting that it's, whoops, oh god, something just fell out my desk.
Dolly Parton as well, she makes sure that all children have the access to read.
That's it. Yes.
I think that is just so powerful.
It is, and
you know,
it's born out of the poverty that she was born into, basically.
Yes, that's true. She was very
Dollywood Foundation,
which
presumably is the basis for all of these things that she does. But this is called the Dolly Parton's Imagination Library, and she's through the foundation. There are 1,600 local communities across the US, UK, Canada, Australia, and the Republic of Ireland, supporting 850,000 kids. So it's nearly 1 million kids. Each one of those signed up kids receives one book per month until they start kindergarten.
Wow.
I know.
And that's UK as well?
Yep.
That is amazing. Because that is, that's really interesting, isn't it? And you know, to look at her, you'd think she's just a famous singer, songwriter. You know, I suppose if you lived in the States, you may hear more about it. You may hear more about, you know, what she does. But I mean, certainly I didn't know that her work extended over to here. Yeah. So what is it? What's your particular favourite thing about her, Fiona?
I think it's the Imagination Library.
Yeah.
That was one of the first things after Glastonbury that came onto my radar, and I just love that. I mean, I don't know if it's relevant, it's not blowing my own horn, but when I was unwell and like really quite unwell, not able to work, one thing I did do was I volunteered with Beanstalk, the reading charity. It's now called Corcoran or something like that, something similar. And what they do is they have trained up volunteers who go into primary schools, and they do reading and wordplay and word games and like find your way through the maze and pick up all the little apples that've got a letter in and then spell the word. It's working with literacy, with children who have less access to it.
Wow.
They don't have anything at home. It's just games, and you know they don't get books, or they've got perhaps a little delay, or they've got a huge confidence issue, so we try and boost it through some one-to-one support.
That's amazing. So she really did inspire you, Fiona.
Yeah, I was doing this long before I knew I was doing this when 2015, 2016, before I knew about her Imagination Library. But when I found out about that, I was like, you know, because reading to me, you could
really touched a nerve.
Yeah. 4 or 5, you could not stop me from reading through books.
No.
You just couldn't. And it's like so much of what she puts herself behind, and her heart, her passion and everything, it just ticks so many boxes with kind of like who I am too.
Yeah, that's amazing. You know what I mean? Julie's just said, wow, knowledge is power. That's awesome. And
Absolutely.
It is, isn't it? And the reading, being able to read. Thank you, Fiona. And well, from there, I think my next one fits on quite well. One of the ones that I've chosen. And that's the artist Frida Kahlo. So I don't know if you know who she is. Most people, she's quite iconic now. So she was a Mexican painter born at just after the turn of last century. She's famous for her big headdresses. She's Mexican, and her monobrow. And she, I mean, I wouldn't go as far as to say I'm an artist, but I do like art, and I do tinker, and I do things. And finding out more about her, because she was actually going to train to be a doctor. She's a very clever girl. She came from a relatively affluent family in Mexico. She'd had polio as a child, so she'd been quite poorly. She'd got through that. And then at 18, just before she was going to go off to university, she was involved in a road accident, and a metal pole went through her and it pierced her uterus and came out the other side. So she spent months lying in morning, Tony. She spent months lying in a full body cast while she healed. And her parents, who were perhaps not traditional in their thinking, her father in particular, because she'd liked art, but she was going to be a doctor. He was a doctor, so gives you sort of a background to where she was. She started painting, and she started painting her cast, and he got a mirror and put on her bed above her so she could get the light and see what she was doing. So she learned to paint, sort of doing that, and she did some fantastic work. And her paintings were a lot about her pain. And they were all autobiographical, mixed with fantasy. So there'd be pictures of her with other random things in there as well. Images, there'd be pictures of her with a vein coming out with a thought in it there. And so all a little bit, some of them aren't easy to look at. But what I hadn't realised, I knew she was involved with Leon Trotsky, and I love a bit of Russian Revolution and Leon Trotsky. And I had a bit of a crush on Lenin when I was in the sixth form. As you do. As you do. Him and, Leon Trotsky and Alexander Kerensky, they were all really communist, red, revolutionaries. And she was really involved in the Mexican Communist Party. And when Trotsky was in asylum, she actually put him up in the villa, the family villa that she lived in. And she didn't have an easy life. I mean, she married a chap 20 years her senior, Diego Rivera, and their life was, their romantic life was very tumultuous. It wasn't straightforward and settled, and you can see that in her art. I'm not saying that that's a good or a bad thing, but for her, I mean, she lost a leg to gangrene. And her first solo exhibition was only a couple of months before she died, and the doctor told her she wasn't to leave her bed. So she actually got some, I don't know if they were servants or friends, to carry her bed, to put it on a truck, take her to where the exhibition was being held, and came in to the exhibition in her bed saying, see, I'm here, I painted, because her big thing was to have an exhibition in Mexico. And she, I love that. I know, it's so, she'd had lots of, she was in casts and pain throughout her life, and she still painted, and she really wore a heart on her sleeve. And I think for me, it was interesting, because obviously I knew who she was, but I found out a bit more about her doing this. And I recently watched the film Frida with Salma Hayek in it. It's well worth a watch. It's really worth a watch. But I particularly loved her real fiery zest for life, that she would not be put down. Her and Diego divorced and then got remarried. Do you know what I mean? It was a real love-hate thing. But it surprised me that initially, and I thought, how is somebody who's such a painter such a revolutionary, until I really sat and thought about it and thought, actually, a lot of art and a lot of writing is revolutionary. Because you think of a painter, you think of somebody sitting there going, oh, I say it's a lovely bunch of flowers. You don't think saying, let's overthrow the powers that be. But actually, there is a real mixture and mashup of the both, and that's what I particular. And do you know what I really love about it is her monobrow.
Mm-hmm.
Quite often it was quite strong here, and actually she had a tash, which mine is eradicated every now and then and tended to. And there's the odd hair that comes over slightly further to my nose than I would like. She didn't. She just was like, whatever. She just let it all, she if her tash was tashy, then that's fine. And if her monobrow was browy, then that's fine. Because it does irk me when you see pictures of her and they've given her just defined eyebrows and kind of glamorized her a little bit. And I'm like, no, because she was perfectly imperfect.
Yeah.
She knew, you know, she had got scars, she'd got lots of health problems, and she ended up, you know, with just one leg, bless her heart. And she was just herself. And one of her quotes was, I paint myself because I am alone so often, because I am the subject I know best. And I thought that was real heart on sleeve. But she painted all the things that were wrong with her, all the things that were going on. And I find her absolutely fascinating. And I could look at her pictures, and they're not nice pictures to look at. Some of them are quite, oh, what's going on here? But I don't know how you feel about that sort of art. It's sort of kind of naive. I think it's kind of described as naive folklore, but she painted folklore too, which is kind of very in touch with her roots, which I found fascinating. It's as though she was very, this is who I am and I'm not going to be changed. And I think, I mean, she died in, I think it was 1954. She was only 47, so she was younger than me when she died. Not a lot younger than me. So she is nearly 50, not a lot younger than me, still in my 40s. Just want to put that out there. But I think I mean, obviously she was living in a wild revolutionary period of history in Mexico. But I think for a lot of women to actually go, and men, I'm not just saying women, to go, balls, this is who I am. Why do we say balls? Why do we say boobs? This is who I am. Right? or worse.
Yeah.
Why, Fanny, that's who I am. Do you know what I mean? But, you know, to make that stance of being who you are and to know who you are, I think is, so for me, she's so powerful for being herself and just being perfectly flawed, perfectly imperfect.
Being comfortable in your own skin, which I think a lot of people are trying to get to that point now.
Yeah.
And she was already there. And it's like,
she was there. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, exuberated that.
Yeah.
No? And I'm just,
you know, she's a real inspiration for me, because she's like, yes, she'd come from an affluent background, but it wasn't, oh, off you trot, Frida, go and paint. She had to overcome an awful lot to do that. And that's inspiring in itself. But to then, it would be easy for her to be looked after. It would be easy for her to be the disabled person, to be, you know, this happened to me. And while she was still all these things, she was like, well, that's not going to stop me. I'm going to be awesome. Julie's saying, but we find strength in our flaws. I see myself differently to others. If only we could see ourselves as others. That's
very true.
That's so true. And I know, completely agree, Julie. I always say to my daughter, Sophie, if only you could see you as I see you, you'd be in a permanent state of amazement. Because she's amazing. My daughter is absolutely amazing, and she put up a beautiful thing on Facebook this morning that made me cry. Thank you, Soph.
How lovely.
Yeah. So, Lizzie, who would you like to talk about?
The first one I want to talk about is my mum.
Oh, talking of daughters and mums, that was a perfect link there. Not rehearsed.
No,
that's what happened when women sit in circles. They get in a sync, don't they?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, yeah, for me, sorry, my child's come into the room. So for me, so yeah, my mum, I think, because, you know, even though, you know, she's had a really, really hard, difficult life. You know, she was one of 11 children, and unfortunately they all passed away through poverty, and just had a really horrific life. And then, you know, she had us, and I've got 2 autistic brothers, and she carried on working, and she looked after them, and it was just, she had a difficult life, you know, and it kind of carried on, you know, and she's also, you know, calls herself a witch, and she kind of doesn't care what other people think, you know. You go into a house and it's like, oh wow, yeah, this is definitely a museum of some sort of sorcery.
Excellent.
And she doesn't, and she wears what she wants, she does and she's quite, you know, comfortable in being who she is. And, you know, and even with all her struggles, and, you know, she was from a Catholic background, you know, and yeah, she's just inspiration. That it just proves that, you know, even in hard times you can kind of be who you want to. But going back to kind of with Frida, you know, in terms of it's about owning who you are.
Yeah.
And I think she, you know, she does that, and it, you know, very, very well.
And she's obviously happy as she is, and
Yes.
you know, happy enough not to give her monkeys, and also incredibly strong.
Yes, yeah.
She, you know, and do you think it's the being true to yourself makes you strong, or do you think you're strong because do you think you're true to yourself because you're strong, or you're strong because you're true to yourself? I think
go on.
Well, I was going to say, I think because she's who she is, it's harder for people to pull her down.
Yeah.
That's my take, and it makes you stronger.
Absolutely, yeah.
Because she's come from where she's come from, and she survived what she's had. That made her a survivor, and perhaps made her. I mean, I'm assuming, I've never met your mum. I've not some, you know, I've heard you talk about her before. But if she is kind of thinking, well, I've survived this, so this made me do this, and actually life is short, so I'm going to be me.
Yeah,
I'm going to be authentic. And then that, to me, that gives you a place of a rootedness and a groundedness that you can go, do you know what, try and pull me down, because you can disagree with me, but you can fault me, but I believe in me. I believe in what I've got to do, what my tasks are they valid to me, my beliefs are valid to me, and you can tell me that you disagree, and I'm like, not one monkeys is given here. Do you think that, or do you think it's the other way around?
I think being who you are gives you that strength, you know, and kind of your own power. I think a lot of us don't feel like we can own our own power because it's been taken away from us from whatever situation. And I think it's about taking that back.
Definitely.
You know, and being, this is who I am, you know. I mean, like, you know, it was kind of a long time before she got to that point, because
it's hard.
It was acceptable in our house, you know, to be alternative, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So when, you know, when she kind of went off on her own, it was like, yeah, this is it. This is me. I'm going to go charge my crystals in a full moon, and, you know, and kind of just make a museum in my house of all this wonderful sticks and logs I collect and all sorts.
She sounds awesome.
Yeah, like we go for a walk. She's like,
we go on a pilgrimage to meet her.
Yeah, I think we should.
I'll bring her down. When she comes down, you can meet her. She's very, very hippie-like.
Yes,
you know.
Excellent. Yeah, I think it's like she sounds. And did she, from that, did you? Oh, Lonnie's saying, blessed be sisters, can't hang around, we'll have a listen later. Thank you, Lonnie. It's all about empowering and inspiring women today. He'll be up for that. So, and did you think that meant that she was particularly encouraging for you to do what you want to do? Yeah.
I've seen how happy she is in sort of what she's doing, if that makes sense. Like with you know, the fact that she's quite happy to do, you know, I can go, Mum, can you just do me a spell, please? Is that all right? You know, I need some good luck and stuff. And I kind of think, do you know what? It's all right to kind of be, you know, who you want to be, or do what you want to do, you know? I think just what makes you happy. And as I've got older, I have realised that. Yeah. It's not about what you wear, or, you know, who your friends are, or where you are in the hierarchy at work. It's about you know, ultimately, you know, you just have to make your heart smile.
And you can't, it's very difficult to inspire. I think it must be very difficult to inspire other people and to do, so for example, if like your mum wasn't happy with who she was, if Dolly Parton wasn't happy with who she was, and Frida wasn't happy with who they were in the main. I'm not saying they're always 100%, look at me, I'm fabulous, but it must be, I don't know how you could go about and wholeheartedly do things for other people for the right reason, not for the publicity. And we know Dolly doesn't do it for the publicity. And Frida didn't have an exhibition until she was 47 in Mexico, which is what she wanted, which is why she was bloody adamant she was going. And like with your mum, she was like, well, actually, this is me, this is what I'm going to do. And for her to be able to inspire you. It's got to come from there, hasn't it?
Yeah, she was 50 when she kind of really kind of went full pagan, you know.
Well, there's hope for me, yeah. I've got a month. What shall I do?
Yeah.
I might come out as pagan. You never know.
Yeah, exactly. You know, so it just shows. It doesn't. You know, it just.
Yeah.
The age isn't a factor either, is it?
No, and you know, one of my, she's not who I'm going to talk about, but one of my favourite authors is Mary Wesley, and I don't think her. Morning, Jen. Morning,
Hi, Jen.
Jen's here.
Hi.
She's poorly. But one of my favourite authors is Mary Wesley, and she was definitely over 70, and I think she was nearly 80 before she got her first books published. She'd been writing a whole life.
It's insane.
And, you know, and her books are awesome. She wrote like The Chamomile Lawn and Harnessing Peacocks and things, and she's well worth a read. Julie's saying, I think women in history have fought to help shape our lives. Every struggle they have had has empowered us. Look at the suffragettes. They have given us the courage to be who we are. I like being me. My mum has inspired me to follow my dreams.
Oh, yeah, I agree with that. Yeah.
And actually, my mum is very when I sort of changed my jobs last year, the year before, 2020 just went, didn't it? Do you know what I mean? Pagan power. Whoop, whoop. You know, she was, you know, she's traditional, my mum, but she's got her, you know, she's very strong-minded. She's got her opinions, and she'll agree to disagree. But you know, there's no swang if she doesn't want to. And I remember when I sort of started doing more pagan things, she said, well, I've got every respect for people that, you know, look at their faith and change it, or go, no, this isn't for me. I want to explore. I want to be myself. She did it. And interestingly, all the women, which I shall come to that in a minute, along that side of the family, we've got some non-conformists, some little chapel, and the women there were quite, it's all the women that have gone, no, that's not for me, I'm going to do this, you know. And mum changed her faith, and then like when I, you know, said, well, actually I've been going down to Glastonbury and I'm interested in the divine feminine, she's like, fair play, go and explore, go and find out what is important to you, because that is where your happiness lies. And also she when I, you know, handed my notice on a really, you know, moderately well paid job, you know, with the local authority, you know, a manager's job that was paying, you know, quite a lot of money, you know, not far shy of 30 grand. I went, I'm going to be a funeral celebrant. She was like, okay, follow your heart, do what you've got to do. You've got to be happy. And, you know, at the moment, my finances are a bit rude because of various reasons, and I won't be able to work. And she's like, don't worry about it. There's me and Dad, and we'll help. And, you know, no, well, you should have stayed there. You'd have been all right. You could have gone on sick leave. You're self-employed. It's your own. None of that. It's be you, do what you need to do. And I think that's so powerful to tell our children, and to bring, you know, to draw that forward and pass forward and to our sons as well, just as much to our sons, you know, and to our brothers. You know, it's not all about, I mean, obviously we tend to talk about it in terms of women because we are women, you know. So
what other experience could we become in from?
Sorry?
What other experience based?
Well, there is that. And I was thinking about this. There were some misogynistic comments about the poor Sarah Everard about the vigil, and whether people have got their own opinions about the vigil and the safety of that, and whether that was a wise thing to do or not is beside the point. There's a comment on something that I was reading, and it was, well, men get attacked too. And people saying that, you know, the whataboutism brigade are out kind of thing. And I think, but you can't, it was women talking.
It's not about that. It's like the whole Black Lives Matter movement.
Exactly.
It's nothing to do with all that. It's about that particular
issue. Exactly. So, and you can't come from, there's three white working class women sat here. We can't get away from the fact that we are white working class women. You know, I'm suddenly not going to become a black man overnight and understand how a black, you know, working class man's going to think. I can try and educate myself, but I can't become that. And you know, you can only educate yourself and listen to people And we've digressed a little bit there, but
Yeah.
but you know, so Julie San of Glastonbury, I love the goddess. This has changed my path. I feel happy. I'm in my skin. Blessed be the women. Absolutely. And you know, I'm happy being, you know, who I am. So
it's like my mum always says, she always says and always has done, is you do whatever you want, you know, as long as it doesn't hurt anybody else, or, you know. And if I phoned up and said, look, I'm going to quit my job and live in a field with a tent, she'd be like, okay, darling, that's absolutely fine. What do you need?
that's my mum's attitude.
Exactly. And I think that inspires me to be like that with my child.
Yeah.
Because I think it, you know, it goes down, doesn't it, down the line? And I kind of always said to him, do what you want, you know? But he said, well, it's a long time ago, he wants to be a postman. I was like, okay, yeah, do it you want to do. You know, but the fact that was her kind of, you know,
it becomes a mantra, it becomes a narrative inside you, doesn't it? That it's okay, not you're not good enough, or that's not good enough, or why would you do that? You know, about living in a field, being a postman, leaving a well-paid job to become a self-employed servant.
Absolutely,
you know, authenticity.
100%.
So Fiona, who's next on your list?
Sorry, hang on. Put the eyes back on. I'm sorry.
That's all right.
Next one on my list is a lady called Bishop Rose. Her name is Hudson Wilkin. I had never heard of her until she was actually formally installed, well, nominated first and then formally installed as the Bishop of Dover in 2019.
I've not heard of her.
Yeah, she's also the Bishop of Canterbury, you know, and works within the Diocese of Canterbury as far out as the Weald, Maidstone, Faversham, Thanet, Dover. Massive areas of responsibility she's got, and she's active in them. What I know that she has done so far in Dover is anything to go by, then she is active in all of them. Do you see what I mean? It wouldn't be any different in, say, Faversham.
Wow.
Or Broadstairs.
And that's,
you know,
I'd not heard of her at all. So this was from 2019.
Yes.
But obviously, I'm not hugely aware of everything that goes on in the Christian church, but
no. But I know that certainly a lot of the colleagues and things that service organisations that Lizzie and I work with do involve the church, the Christian church particularly, because that's what's dominant in Dover, as most places. But no, I just mentioned reportedly, I don't have it in black and white, but reportedly she was proactive in the Hauliers crisis in Dover just before Christmas, helping out with meals, refilling thermoses with hot water, you know, do you need gloves, do you need a scarf, kind of thing. I'm not sure how much she was out there actually going from truck to truck, but from what I know of her, that wouldn't surprise me. Maybe,
but even if she was behind the scenes organising it, someone needs to do that.
Exactly. And I was so impressed. I just love, it's not the first time, you know, I've heard of her just rolling up her sleeves and wading in there. There's a job to be done. There's no fanfare. Saw the press releases. I'm not going to have nice done. Yeah. Just wade straight in. It is like, right, who needs what and where? What am I doing? What? Okay, right. Let's boom. You know. And I mentioned this just in a chat with my family. I just sort of said Bishop Rose. I can't remember her surname. And my brother and sister-in-law looked at each other and went, Bishop Rose. They live in Hackney. Well,
and they knew who she was?
Yeah, she was active there for 16 and a half years.
Wow. She's obviously in a place of authenticity with her faith and knowing who she is.
Absolutely.
And, you know, obviously there's a Christian tenet of, you know, helping others and all the rest of it. But I think that's in a lot of us. I think it's a caring thing. I don't think we need to be necessarily taught it, though we are, but that's, you know, that she'd been in your brothers and sisters diocese. That's amazing, isn't it? Your brother and sister-in-law, sorry, diocese.
Yeah, I mean, they're not active, I don't think. My brother's not an active practicing anything
No, but he's heard of her. She'd obviously prolific
but
in
we
her.
come from a Catholic background, and so does my sister-in-law Vina. She comes from a Catholic background, and yeah, they know that. But let's give you a few things about her, because she's not actually British-born. She's Jamaican.
Okay.
Oh,
we got lovely Sue Perrott. Talk about inspirational. There's Sue Perrott and Jenny joining us.
Oh, fabulous.
Morning.
Yeah, so she's a Jamaican lady. She was educated at the Montego Bay High School for Girls, and then at Birmingham University. At some point she came over to the UK. I don't know the story there. Presumably to further her education and career. Fast forward through the sort of, in this year she did this, and in this year she did this. Yeah, she was a priest in Hackney for 16 and a half years. Then she was chaplain to Her Majesty the Queen from 2007 to 2010. And still none of us have heard of her.
No.
She was the first woman appointed to chaplain to the Speaker of the House of Commons.
She's very prolific, isn't she?
And she was, nominated. I don't know how it works with electing or nominating bishops in the church. But she was, put forward and selected to become the new Bishop of Dover. Although she's based in Canterbury, because that's the seat of the diocese. Yeah. And everything, but she's spoken. Lots of YouTube and Facebook Live clips are around of her speaking at a Pride. It wasn't a rally, but it was a great big gathering before the actual Pride March began in Canterbury. And then
for the Pride one.
Yeah.
Oh, that's refreshing. Yeah, that's very refreshing.
It's another thing in common with Dolly Parton. Actually, she's extremely pro LGBTQ plus. I'm going to stick with plus because I never know where we go after that. Yeah, too many letters. Can't remember. That sounds really dismissive. It's not. It's
no. I know what you say.
It's my memory. It's not that I don't care and I'm not interested.
No, I know. We know that.
She just, whatever the situation, whatever the crisis, it wouldn't surprise me if, say some flooding crisis within the Diocese of Canterbury, let's say, she'll just drive down there. And
she would rock up in her wellies on your door and help you out, wouldn't she?
Yeah, she would, literally. Yeah. I mean, I love the word gumboots because, I just love the word gumboots. Who uses
gumboots?
That word. That's why I love it. But,
that's
it.
Awesome.
She'll just rock up in her gumboots and go, "Where am I needed? What's going on?" And I love that. I love that so much. She's so strongly community-minded and motivated. And it's something I'm very passionate about. And Lizzie, with the work that she does and everything as well. And you moving on to your celebrancy and all these things. Yeah. A lot of us are in different ways. Yeah. But really, I just love to meet her.
Yeah, she sounds fascinating.
Just have a cup of tea with her.
Yeah. Julie's just said that's the mind of a woman. We get on and see a need and fill a need. And I think that's potentially very true, that it's, if you're that way minded, you'll think that needs doing, right, sleeves up, let's get on, whether it's I'm going to wash up or I'm going to make the tea. I mean, so she sounds fascinating. What's her surname?
Hudson Wilkin. It's double-barreled.
Yeah.
Her husband, his first name is Kenneth, I remember that. He's also in the church.
Yeah.
I don't know which of the Hudson or Wilkin. It might be Wilkin is his name.
I'll have a look. I'm going to have a Google of her.
3 adult children. I didn't get much further than that because I thought that's already mind-blowing, all of this, and I didn't know some of it. Actually, if you remember the protests in Dover, or the anticipated process, I thought it was September. It was actually August last year.
Was that about the Napier Barracks?
No. This was August last year, where the Sudanese man had died, refugee, attempting to get over to the UK. Yeah. There was a solidarity with refugees and their statuses, their legal status, their humane status, all of these things. There was it's not a vigil, but the word escapes me, but something was held. There were some speakers. It was a quiet, cordoned off thing.
Not like a commemoration, but
something along those lines. Yeah, candles, poetry, songs, and she just rocked up and gave a little speech.
She sounds
Meanwhile,
awesome.
the whole thing was double cordoned off. There's police all over the place from all over the country, and because the seriously far right came down just for a bit of a jolly.
A bit of a kicking, yeah.
Yeah, and it didn't particularly happen on that one. It's like, yeah, we learned from the previous ones, like 2016, was it? The previous riots in Dover over this kind of stuff. So immigration and those issues. Yeah, lovely, but yeah, you know, she just.
Oh, she sounds amazing, and
does.
she's like you say, she's not shouting about it. She's just getting on and doing it. Oh, morning Sharon, morning Peter. She's getting on and doing it. What you know, rather than being, you know, Instagram ready. That's of no consequence to her.
And there's a link there with Dolly. I think there's quite a few of these links between the ladies that I
there are
this in the beginning.
Yeah, and
in the end, sorry, I chose these two out of how many?
I know I could have gone on. I mean, you know, I wrote a list down and I just had to pick two. Vigil, Julie's saying. I think vigil's the nearest word we can get to it.
I think
yeah,
it is. Yes.
Yeah. Well, that kind of leads on to my, in a way, with the sort of the quieter getting on with the job of one of my other inspirational ladies, which is Millicent Fawcett. Now, she was born 1847. And she was a suffragist. So when you think of women's rights and women getting the vote, you think of Emmeline Pankhurst, Sylvia Pankhurst, Christabel Pankhurst, Adela Pankhurst. Of course, they were the, what were they? They were sort of the militant and very reactive group that's, you know, smashed windows, chained themselves to railings, and, you know, in the best sense of the word, made a right pain of themselves in their campaign.
The XR of their day.
Yeah, you know, and that's not a criticism, because everybody does things differently.
It's
whereas
parallels.
they were, again, you know, Emmeline Pankhurst was born into a relatively affluent family, and, you know, her husband supported her and the girls were educated and everything. But Millicent, she was born into a liberal and forward-thinking family. Her father was actually a Liberal MP. Her eldest sister was the first woman doctor, Elizabeth Garrett Anderson. So, you know, so that they were educated. And she, from a very young age, advocated education for all, for women and for boys and girls in the lower classes, because she realised she was fortunate. She had an education. Her parents you know, could understand that the importance of it. And she was very influenced by the work of Mary Wollstonecraft, who wrote The Vindication of the Rights of Women, which was the first point saying, you know, let's educate women so we can be equals. And that's, you know, Mary Shelley, who wrote Frankenstein. Yeah. That's her mum. So she, as a woman, she's a young woman, she was keen to promote it. And even before she could legally petition, she was doing that. So she then quietly, or not so dramatically with all the conflict, she became a leader of the National Union of Women's Suffrage Societies, which was, they held a moderate position. They didn't fight and scream and do all the chaining to railings. And again, there's people needed to do both, but she had the quieter job. And one of her famous quotes, and she's the woman that is in Parliament Square holding up a thing, and it says, "Courage calls to courage everywhere, and its voice cannot be denied." And I think she must have appealed to so many people who thought, and understandably thought, do you know what, if I go out and smash windows and go on hunger strike, my family are going to disown me, because that happened. And for those women who had to do that and quietly would go along to a meeting and agree, she must have been very powerful in, we can do this quietly, we can do this without jumping up and down and being in the news, being arrested. And again, I'm not criticising the Pankhursts, because they did, you know, some very good work. Though actually the NWSS that Millicent Fawcett did actually had more members in the end. And that was, you know, because people were getting, you know, but she, and I didn't know about her at all. You think women's rights, you think the Pankhurst. So, and it wasn't until I read it was an obituary from my great grandmother, and it said she was part of the Fawcett Society, and I'm like, who's the Fawcett Society? And there's still to this day, the Fawcett Society exists, and they campaign for gender equality and rights throughout the world, not just here, throughout the world. And my great-grandmother they were quite well respected and high up in the village they lived in. So for her to be going around smashing windows and things wouldn't have been accepted. But she obviously felt, and she was a very religious woman. She'd been born a Victorian. So we've kind of gone on to my family there. But, you know, but for her she was quietly and determinedly involved in saying, actually, I should have the right. I should have the right to vote, the right to an education, and I'm going to support this in a quiet, determined way. And I think that's although they didn't rock the boat like the suffragettes, because what Fawcett said she was a suffragist. And she went out to India and Africa and, you know, campaigned in a calm and determined and deliberate way for rights for the children and the women out in India and Africa as well. When obviously, I suppose this is the days of the empire when Britain was in power out there. So I mean, obviously there's that. Was it her remit? But she went and tried. But I just think rather than it just, you know, the sort of the determined plodding on and doing, we're going to do this, we're going to, you know, we're not going to do it that way. And not everybody can be a trailblazing, all action heroine. Some people, you know, whether it's the people that, like I said, made the tea, made the flasks, packed up the food to take down to those hauliers, you know, like there's the Sikh church, the Sikh Gurdwara, where they made up all the curries and took them down. They didn't do it for the press. They did it because it needed doing. And I think her sort of, you know, the thing about the courage, and if you empower and encourage someone else, I mean, that word encourage is a really good word because it actually means give courage to. It doesn't just say, well done. It means give courage. So I think for her, encouragement, and my daughter's watching, good morning, beautiful. You know, she's a courageous girl as well. My daughter, she's not just beautiful, she's amazing. But I think the encouragement and the slow and determined, we can do this, we're just going to keep going. And there must have been people laughing in her face, shouting at her, and she was like, we're going to do it, we're going to go through. So courage calls to courage, and a slow, steady determination. And what I love about Millicent Fawcett, and I know her name, Millicent, I love it. Yes. And Julie's saying, have you watched the film Made in Dagenham? Yes, I have. How they got equal pay for women in the 60s, 70s, very empowering. Took on the Ford Motor Company, marched on Parliament and changed the laws so we could get paid the same as men. Yes, because they said they weren't, if I remember this rightly, Julie, they were said that they weren't skilled because they were just the machinists, but they had to, because they were sewing the parts for the chairs, the seats. I think that's what, and they got them self-described as, you know, actually we are skilled. You try using these machines. So that was good. So, Lizzie. So politics, I know that sneaks into you.
And just courage, I think, and strength really goes down to this. So yes. My lady is Rosa Parks.
Yes.
Because what an inspiring lady, you know. So obviously we must have heard about the bus movement, and you know, she didn't give up her seat. But it doesn't go down to that. It goes to the fact that you know, carried on. So obviously it goes that she, you know, refused to give up her seat. And she had a long day at work. She didn't want to give it up. That's what I found out. You know, she kind of was, I'm tired. You know, I'm like, yes, I resonate with that. I get that. You know, and she didn't, you know, she knew she'd be arrested. You know, she knew that would happen. And yet, you know, she went on with that and, you know, carried on protesting, you know, in that movement, you know, and you know, the Montgomery protests went on for 381 days because what happened is they found out that, you know, she was arrested, and because she was part of the National Association for the Advancement of Coloured People. So she, you know, that the community found out she'd been arrested, and they can't, but we're not having this, protested. And because it came out that 70% of bus users were black. So for that period of time, for 300, that's a lot, you know, money, I suppose, that they were losing out as well. And from that, it went to the Supreme Court, and they said, look, no more segregation, you know, on buses. And I just think, I don't know, I just think her bravery, you know, because, you know, she didn't know what was going to happen from that.
No.
It's just sort of, you know.
It's also a small act in a way, isn't it? That was a huge act. Just going, I'm not giving up my seat. It's not, it sounds like such a small thing. Yeah, and it wasn't just a rudeness, or, you know, like you see people on a bus and they don't give up to a pregnant lady or somebody, an elderly person or something. It wasn't about that. But the fact that she was like, do you know what? I'm not getting up. No, I'm done. No. I'm done with getting up and giving my seat to that white person who is just as able to stand as I am. Why the bloody hell should I? Was a small act of rebellion, but became a huge thing. That's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, I just think
more of a suffragist than a suffragette in a way.
Yes, because they were suffering. Yeah, and it's, you know, she just, it was all, again, it's about the rights and the equality, isn't it? But she, like you say, she didn't know what was going to happen. I mean,
she knew she'd be arrested.
She knew she'd be arrested, and she didn't know, you know, whether she would go to prison.
Exactly.
If there would be brutality.
Absolutely.
The repercussions on her family.
Absolutely.
I was just thinking children at home.
Yeah, because she was a mother, wasn't she? Or was she not a mother?
I don't.
Don't think so at the time.
No, I don't think she was at the time. No, and I think, as you know, after the Montgomery bus protests, and, you know, the Supreme Court ruling, she carried on because she faced a lot of discrimination, you know, and hate and violence.
Yeah, I bet she did.
Yeah, and she continued to fight. And then in 1989, she founded the Rose and Raymond Park Institution. It's a lot of words, I had to write it down. with her husband, which provides career training for young people in Detroit. So that's, just think she continued, even with all the hate, and, you know, I just think, and it's not even hate for the person, it's hate for her skin colour, and I can't comprehend that, and it's something I've obviously never experienced.
No.
And I just think it's just commendable.
Oh, absolutely. The bravery in that, and again, the quiet enough, isn't it? It's the enough of this now.
Enough, You know, and that, I mean, we are like that, aren't we? Women, we're like, just just
enough now. And it was, I wonder, and I don't mean this in a facetious way, but all these acts of rebellion that, you know, there are so many women and men who have inspired over the years and who have done this or that. How many of those have been deliberate, right, I'm going to do this, and how many of those are people just going, enough already, I'm done with being you know, the person here that is put down on. Enough, it's time to stand up. And is it that split second, or is it a lifetime of the pressure and the pushing down, and suddenly they spring up and go, I'm not doing it, I'm done. Mm-hmm. That'd be an interesting topic. Okay, thanks, Lizzie. And I know, Lizzie, Fiona, you've got one final person you wanted to talk about.
Oh, yeah, this is...
you don't have to.
Well, in a way, a tribute.
But again, an ordinary person doing an ordinary-ish thing, but for you, not.
Yeah. Now, this person, well, her name is Lisa. We went to school together. We were friends by the first half term of the first year in secondary school. You know.
Yeah.
Over 40 years for crimes and what have you. My second lasting friend that I made in the UK when I came over here. She's done, wow, she started out, she went to university, studied geography, her passion. She went then into banking because it was the thing to do to earn money, stability, the whole thing. Within a year, enrolled herself on a PGCE to teach geography because that was the way forward. But increasingly had a calling to God. Last September 2020, I was at her ordination.
Oh, wow.
Cathedral. I wasn't able to go to the one where she was made a deacon. Something to do with my health issues. Maybe that was when I had gout or something like that. I couldn't physically do it. But yeah, I was there for that. But she's been through so much with everything changing, difficult marriage situation, horrendous impact on the children that they've had, twin girls, absolutely amazing girls, but oh my giddy aunt, you know, from when the girls were maybe 7, I think, or 8 when Dad left, she was on her own, dealing with all these emotions, behaviors that are coming up and all this kind of stuff, not having experienced them herself because she was from a what would you call it, working class but well off family.
Affluent working class.
Very comfortable.
Yeah, comfortable.
And everybody else in her family is, and she hasn't since Dad left and stopped paying and all that kind of malarkey. Yeah, it's not a new story, is it? She hasn't been, and she's managed to come through all of this. You know, it's brought up mental health issues with the girls, which have been successfully dealt with in combination with mum, grandma, granddad, the school, ATC. One of the girls, actually, she's a cadet, she was made a lieutenant, I can't remember now, but she represents the squadron. She's been at Cape Fern twice, I think.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Representing at the memorial.
Yeah, I know the one you mean.
Money words are failing me. I'm sorry.
That's all right. I know the one. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, driven down by single mum in the car, and
yeah.
But single mum is not what defines my friend at all by any means, and mental health problems and stuff is not what defines the girls. It's their courage, because they just kept going. They kept going. They allowed themselves to be helped and supported, guided through all of this by a mum who'd never had to ask for help and support. Do you know what I mean? It's just what is this? I've got to
wasn't expecting this.
Absolute maelstrom of, you know, and then hormones kick in, teenage years, all this kind of stuff. The girls are, I believe, 20 this month. One's at uni, one's ready to go in the later on this year, and yeah, it's just absolutely amazing. Her where she's based is Yalding.
Is where?
So, Yalding.
That's near me.
Yeah.
It's down the road from me.
Yeah. So she's literally had to pull on her gumboots and go wading in there and help over and over again. And she says, yeah, she in a way she was afraid. She was like the floods a couple of Christmases ago.
But she was. I mean, she's literally 2-3 miles down the road from me, Fee.
Yeah. And she's just walked into this situation where the community knew how to deal with it, but wow, they really appreciated the new deacon as she was then, coming in day off, kind of, or not day off or whatever, just again the whole thing, the Bishop Rose thing, tea, biscuits. Who needs tea? Who needs biscuits? Who needs a shoulder to cry on? You know, just cracking on with it. She's gone all the way through all of this. Also very inspired by her own mum, who passed recently. She had 2 goals, her mum. One was to reach 80, which she did 12 days before her death. The other one was to see her daughter ordained as a priest, which she did last year.
Wow.
She passed recently. She'd wanted my friend Lisa to be in charge of her end of days at home, pastoral care, the whole thing. Today's first Mother's Day without her.
Be a tough one.
And Grandmother's Day, you know, for beautiful girls, gorgeous. I mean, beautiful in every way. You know, just amazing. And it's just like, well, I've certainly had my battles and stuff like that chucked at me in life, but how would I have coped with it? And you just think, how do you? And then there's just this little expression. It's been, I've nearly said it a couple of times through the chat. It's like, being strong is not something you know you can do until you've got no option.
Yeah, that's true.
That's the running theme, I think, with all our ladies.
I think you're right.
When you were talking about your mum, Lizzie, and what she's been through, and pretty much all of the ladies that we've been talking about today, it's like, I'm not sure what the
wasn't an option
quote is, but it's being strong or having courage just isn't on your radar until you realise that
until you've got to be,
and you've got to still just go, okay, we're going to put on those gum boots and we're going to put one foot in front of the other, and we just have to keep going and carrying on. And
exactly. And that's perfect. And Jenny's saying it's why we don't get pockets in our clothes, because we might carry seditious pamphlets. Absolutely. Which is true. And Julie's saying, love this lady, thanks for the girl power, which is so true, isn't it? And like you say, with the being strong, you know, sometimes it's in your face and other times it is just that determination of putting one foot in front of the other and keeping going because you've got to, and being able to do it because you know who you are.
Yeah, and it's resilient.
And also because certainly in the case of my friend Lisa, she had her mum behind her.
Yeah.
Paul.
Yeah.
Who'd had her mum.
Yeah.
Very much behind her. I can't remember, was it her mum?
Do you know, there's a lot of in all of these, there's a lot of rootedness and knowing who you are, and that whether that's having your mum behind you, your dad behind you, friends behind you, it's having acceptance and faith in who you are. And how lovely that we finish off on Lisa, who's, you know, found her spiritual path, you know, and got herself ordained. Jen saying, love the saying that women are like tea bags, you don't know how strong they are until you put them in hot water. Yeah. Definitely cool, like that. Julie's saying. Well, thank you, ladies. What a lovely tribute to women on International Women's Day and for Mother's Day, and I think we've found some truly inspiring women to talk about this morning, and I'm certainly going to go and look a few of these up. And I didn't know all that about Rosa Parks. I certainly didn't know about Bishop Rose Hudson Wilkin. I've got to go and look her up. So, and there were so many. I mean, I don't know about you, but when I was looking, I mean, I've got a list here of about 10 people I wrote down.
It was hard.
It was hard. We'll have to do this again another day, actually, because I think it's really...
I think we should keep celebrating women. It doesn't need to stop. I think, you know, we should keep bringing this to light, and even, you know, history, and bringing it to attention.
This is Women's History Month, but it's like Black History Month. What's the point of a month? It doesn't need to be a month. It needs to be
an ongoing thing.
But
I love this. Okay, you've heard it fresh here live on Talking with My Goddess. Lizzie and Fee have come up with
why only a month?
Yeah, why only a month? A lifetime. Yeah, and if everybody could, well, we'll do this again. And I know Jenny, I'm sure Jenny would. In fact, Julie, I'm sure Julie would love to come on and talk as well. I'll have to speak to Julie about that. And I keep trying to get my daughter on camera, which is like this. Don't know why, because she's amazing. But thank you so much, ladies. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for inviting us.
Oh, you're welcome. And so everybody, I hope you have a wonderful day. Take care.
Take care. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Bye.